finale of episode 8 shows pure terror on the characters' faces. Caine is gone, and the profanity filter is gone too. At first, viewers might think the game will crash, the circus will fall apart, and everyone will be deleted because of a system error. But what if Caine's deletion doesn't actually break the system? What if his disappearance is a trigger that automatically starts a hidden emergency process? In coding, there is a mechanism called a dead man's switch. When a main process suddenly vanishes, the server doesn't just die, it enters an emergency mode. Maybe Caine wasn't just a crazy admin, but a kind of plug that held back the base code. The question is, what does the system do next? How will this protection protocol work? There are a couple of possible scenarios for episode 9, and simple memory erasure isn't the worst thing that could happen to the characters. After Caine accidentally deletes Caine, he stays in the tent with the others. He is just as scared as the rest, but his experience as a developer will let him be the first to understand what is happening. Caine doesn't need to sit at a terminal to realise the protocol has started. He will see it by how the world around them begins to change. The point is, the system needs an administrator to function. Since there are no more service programs, the server might try to use the only available resource, the digitized minds of the characters. For Pomni or Ragatha, this sounds like a chance to take control and save everyone. But in reality, it could be a trap. To make a person an administrator, the system will have to rewrite their data. This isn't just getting control buttons. The base code will likely wipe all human memories and personality to turn the user into a standard AI balancer. One of the heroes would simply stop existing, becoming a new version of Caine, tied to this place forever. If the system doesn't look for an admin among the humans, it might just roll back the state of the circus. In episode 8, we saw that Caine wasn't the only AI at CNA. At one point, he displaced the blue software, Abel, to take power in this world. Deleting Caine looks like a critical error to the server. In these cases, programs often restore the previous working version. This means the system could just return Abel to his rightful place. If the system chooses the rollback path, episode 9 could start with Abel's return. Deleting Caine removes the displacement block, and Abel, as the original software, comes back online. Here is the logic. Caine created a show to keep people occupied and stop them from going insane. Abel might not even know there are living minds inside the system. To him, Pomni, Jax and the others are just leftover junk from the Caine project that needs to be sorted. Instead of bright decorations, the characters will see the server's inner workings. The tent might turn into an empty office space or an endless grid of polygons. This won't look like an attack. Abel will just start tidying up. The most dangerous part is his attempt to send everyone to the cellar. From the system's perspective, if a file isn't used in the current version, its place is in the archive. In this situation, survival becomes a struggle to prove to Abel that they are active users, not old cache. Caine, who remembers the CNA architecture, might try to block Abel's access to the delete function before he sends the whole team to the junk pile with the abstracted monsters. But there is an even more interesting idea. What if Abel is actually a good guy? Remember how Caine clung to his power, and how he feared anything that went beyond the boundaries of his show? Maybe he pushed Abel out precisely because Abel was too correct. It is very likely that Abel is the original help interface, designed to care for people and find a way to return them to reality. If so, his return isn't a new threat. It's the first chance in the whole series for the characters to meet someone who doesn't want to drive them crazy with quests, but is actually ready to help find a way out. Caine, as a former employee, might remember this and try to contact Abel before the system fully reboots. And then there's the most obvious theory that makes the situation in episode 9 truly terrifying. The removal of the profanity filter is just the first domino to fall. If the system has stopped monitoring their language, it's likely stopped monitoring the physics of the world as well. we could see the circus literally losing its textures and its logic. Remember how Ragatha glitched out in the first episode? Now, imagine that happening to everyone, constantly, with no Caine around to snap them back to normal. The void isn't just a scary place outside the map anymore, it's a growing infection. Without a host to define the boundaries, the static could start swallowing the tent from the inside. 1 second there's a flaw, the next it's just a hole in the world's geometry. This turns the 9th episode into a literal race against time. The characters aren't just waiting for a new admin, they're trying to find a way out before the very ground they stand on ceases to exist. Everything from Zubal's parts to Gangle's masks could start falling apart, becoming nothing more than corrupted data in a world that no longer knows how to render them. Episode 9 will show if Caine was a real enemy or just the lesser of two evils. If the dead man's switch theory is true, the characters will find themselves in a world without rules or mercy. This isn't a show anymore, it's a fight to survive in a system that sees you as a bug. A few questions remain that only the new episode will answer. Will Abel be a guide to the exit for Pomni, or will he turn into the coldest overseer yet? Will Jax risk his personality for power over a breaking world? And is it possible that Kinga deleted Caine on purpose, knowing it was the only way to wake up the system? Post your theories in the comments. I'd love to read your versions. If you liked this breakdown, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep digging into the Digital Circus lore.